Hi, I'm Steve. You're watching Gear Stuff and Things, and today on the channel we are going to be crafting a tone inside of Line6 Helix using their new amp. And yeah, let's head into HX Edit and get into it. Alright, so the new update for Line6 Helix came out yesterday, and they added a bunch of new reverbs and delays and other things, little input features, things of that nature, which is super cool. But the biggest thing for me is that they uploaded a brand new amp called the Ventoux, which maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong. Either way, it's an amazing amp and probably one of the best sounding amps that Line6 has ever added to the Helix. So I wanted to craft a tone for use in hard rock and metal with you. And yeah, so let's head into HX Edit and start crafting the tone. All right, so first we need to pick our amp, which is going to be the brand new Ventoux or Ventoux, whatever you want to call it. And we need to pick a cab. For this instance, I'm going to use an IR. You can use whatever cabinet or IR you have and craft the tone however you'd like. So I am going to pick, we'll just play in the default position and we'll find an IR that sounds good. So I'll pick this one. Look no further, that one sounds perfect. All right, so let's get into the amp itself. So things of mention, if you read the notes associated with the new update, it explains how this amp was designed by Ben Adrian based upon wanting to create an amp in the real world that was a combination of a couple of circuits. And that's a lot harder to do when building a physical product, but a lot easier apparently to do in the digital world. So that is this. So it is based around 70s orange amps that are single channel and have master volumes, and Fender era tweed amps. So a combination of the two, both with master volumes. So the best way to make this amp work and respond as it should is to have your master all the way at 10 and then set your volume accordingly. That being said, you can mess with it, which it also mentions in the notes, to create different textures and stuff. But I've already found that just setting the master to 10 tends to be the best thing, so I'm going to turn down the channel volume a bit, and let's hear it now. Already sounds amazing, but I'm going to cut it out a little further, so I'm going to drop the sag down because I want things to be a little more instantaneous in response. So let's check that out. And for those of you that are going to complain about hearing string noise, don't worry. I will do a section at the end where it's just the tones isolated. So hum, I'm going to leave alone. I'm going to increase the bias a bit. Let's heat it up a little bit and see what we got. It just sounds good. This is one of the best sounding amps that Helix has ever created. Sounds good out of the gate. Not a lot to do here, but let's mess with our high pass filter. We'll increase the gain a little bit and bring it up to 7. Well, after all, we're crafting a hard rock or metal tone. So the high pass filter does exactly what a high pass filter does. Letting some highs in, cutting some lows out. So if we do it like that, there's almost no lows. Which I feel would be pretty cool if you were wanting to do maybe a more cleaner or Americana-esque tone, which I may do a video on crafting a tone using this amp for lighter gain situations. But for now, we're looking for high gain, so... 4.1 sounds good to me. Mids, well, those are mids. I'm going to leave them at default. I think it sounds nice. Depth is kind of an extension of the high pass filter, but we're actually adding low end or taking away a low end. I like them in the default positions. You can mess with them as you'd like. Presence is fine. So this is the tone we have so far. So that sounds really good, but we're looking to use it in a more metal context or hard rock context. So let's get ourselves a drive going, and I'm going to go with a Minotaur. I'm going to bring it down to 1.0. Going to keep this at 5.0, so we're pretty balanced with our approach. Bring this up to about 8, and let's see what we have now. It sounds pretty good to me, but we did introduce a little bit of noise adding that, so let's go into our input section. We're going to turn our gate on. I'm going to drop the milliseconds down a little bit so it's a faster open and close. Just put it at 300. Oop, not 900. That'll take forever. And a new feature that was added, which is not necessarily part of building the tone, but it is important and helpful, is that you now have control over the guitar pad on each preset. So you can either add, use your global setting that you have, or you can add or remove the pad per patch, which is really useful. And it's something that should have been in Helix a long time ago, but it's awesome that it's there now because each patch can be treated differently. And if you're using multiple guitars, or you're switching from something that has an active input, like active pickups, EMGs, Fishmans, something like that, going to a passive thing or maybe a lower output pickup, being able to change the pad is super helpful. If you are using a bass, a lot of times active pickups or even bass pickups in general tend to be a bit louder. So being able to turn on that pad without having to go through your global settings is really useful. So here's what we have now. I'll turn off the mic so there's no string noise and you can hear the tone as is. All right, so if you ask me, that already sounds really good. Doesn't really require a lot of further tweaking, but just to do things in a way that seems useful, we're going to add a room reverb to give it some nice vibe, and we're going to go with one of the new room reverbs that was featured in the new Line 6 update. So the dynamic room, so this is that, which is way too much. So we are going to, first of all, take the high cut off. We're going to take the low cut off and drop our mix down to 20. Turn on the reflections and let's hear what we have now. So nice natural sounding room reverb. And after that, we are going to add the tried and true LA Studio comp. And I'm going to bring it down to about 5 because that tends to be where it hits the best when using higher gain situations. So let's check that out. Way too loud right off the bat. Of course, it's clipping, so we need to adjust our level. So I'm going to drop it down to 5.0 or close to 5.0. And we will bypass the compressor and turn it back on in order to balance things out to unity. So here's with the compressor, without the compressor. So maybe a tad lower and we'll be right in the territory we need to be. Perfect. Now we're at unity gain. I mean, this sounds great. Not a lot more to do there. So we're going to save our preset and that's it. So I'm going to do a little playthrough here so you can hear the tone in the context of a mix, and then I will sign off at the end of the video. So that was the video, and that was the tone creation using the Ventoux. Ventoux? I don't know. I said it wrong to begin with, and I looked up the way to pronounce it on Google after I filmed a video, which is a very foolish thing to do. So for anyone out there that was upset about how I pronounced it, sorry. Anyhow, I do think it's the best amp that Line6 has added to the Helix in a long time, and probably one of the most versatile amps in the entire unit. And I'm really looking forward to getting more use of it. Hopefully you enjoyed the playthrough and the tone. Hopefully you were able to take some inspiration from this video and create a tone of your own, because that's what it's all about, making a thing that is your own. And yeah, that's the video. So if you enjoyed it and you have not subscribed already, please consider subscribing. Hit the little guy down there, and be sure to hit that bell notification so that YouTube will let you know every time a new video goes up. If you are at all interested, I have a bunch of music and Helix preset packs available. All the links are in the description. And until next time, did I say I did. Anyhow, and until next time, it's been me, it's been you. This is Gear Stuff and Things.